So the intro is a little long, so saddle up. You'll be bored, but it's fine. You already know it. It's you. All right, ready? You ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, hi. You're listening to Service from Hell, a podcast featuring people that are currently in customer service positions or the lucky few that got out and all of the good, bad, and infinitely irritating things that go along with that work. I'm actor and writer Kate Gaffney, and I'm uniquely qualified to discuss this as I used to work at a very busy and very popular comedy club in Los Angeles. And at least one of you listening right now has probably grabbed me and told me you were ready to order when I was running around like a crazy person. So let's eat. I'd like to welcome our guest comedian, actor, and as of a month ago, published author Tez Ilyas. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. That's perfect. Thank you. What an intro.
Yeah, it's longer. Get ready. Tez Ilyas is one of the most celebrated stars in British comedy. In 2015, his debut stand-up tour, Tez Talks, was shot in front of a sold-out crowd in London and skyrocketed his career. In 2016, his highly anticipated follow-up show, Made in Britain, went on to sell out every single performance at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. His third show, Teztify, once again delivered a spectacularly powerful, provocative, and brilliantly funny hour of topical stand-up, delivering to packed-out audiences night after night. Tez has appeared at Live at the Apollo, The Chris Ramsey Show, Man Like Mo Bean, which we are totally going to get to because I fucking love that show, Live from the Comedy Store, Kevin Hart's Live from Montreal, Roast Battle, and The Great British Bake Off, and Extra Slice, to name only a few of his credits because his bio was making me feel covered in shame, so I trimmed it way, way down. Okay, let's keep going. In 2019, he fronted his own Channel 4 satirical sketch series, The Tez O'Clock Show. You guys notice the puns on his names. He does it a lot. And now get ready to feel really lazy and dumb, all of our listeners. Here's how Tez spent his quarantine. In 2020, Tez released his first stand-up comedy special, Teztify, recorded live at the South Bank Center. And in 2021, Tez will be embarking on a new nationwide tour show, Populist, on the heels of releasing his first book, a teenage memoir entitled The Secret Diary of a British Muslim, aged 13 3/4. Y'all, that's how he spent this last year. How dumb do you feel? I better know Tez from seeing him on Man Like Mo Bean and then having mutual friends in comedy who vetted him and demanded that he be on the show. He's for sure way too famous to have said yes to this podcast, but he did. So y'all, go buy his book, watch his special. Teztify is up on YouTube and it's hilarious. You should definitely watch it. That said, now we're going to let Tez talk. See what I did there? So, Tez, tell us what got you into comedy. Why'd you leave London? Why does your accent sound a little bit Scottish? When is your US tour? Tell us everything.
I mean, I want to address the Scottish one first, but my mild OCD makes me want to go in order. So, I got into comedy because I'm so funny, and I thought it is not fair to not share this gift with other people.
Facts.
But I was in London. I went to London. I don't live in London. I live in the north of England. What do you call upstate New York?
Yeah, there you go.
So I live the equivalent of like Rochester to New York City. And in England, that's a long way. Like that's for you guys. That's like that's an afternoon drive. But for us, that's like oh my god, the other side of the country. So I moved to London for my day job, and I just needed a hobby. Like I was bored. Like it's not like the sitcoms like Friends and How I Met Your Mother, where everyone lives together and everyone goes to the same bar every single evening. My friends were scattered around the city, scattered around the world, actually, because it was my first job out of university, or what you guys would call college. And so I needed something to do. And I Googled writing workshops because I thought I'd do some creative writing, make some new friends, that sort of thing. And I accidentally came across a stand-up workshop. And I thought, my friends always tell me I'm funny. I'm deluded enough to believe them. I thought, worst case scenario, I'd meet some new people, make a fool of myself. I can live with both of those things. And so I went on this thing. It was 1 day a week for 6 weeks. These things, they don't teach you how to be funny, but they get you into writing, the mechanics of stand-up, the do's and don'ts. It skips kind of 6 months worth of open mic training, I think, going on like a workshop or a course or something. So I did that. And then at the end of the workshop, there was, after like 6 weeks, there was a showcase where everyone on it invited their friends and family. And that was my first ever gig. It's quite a safe space, quite a safe gig. I had friends I told my friends to come in and I was like, just please be inconspicuous, sit at the back, do all that. These motherfuckers came in with T-shirts saying, we're on the Tez tour, and sat right at the front.
What assholes?
Assholes. And that was but then people, when it was my turn to go on, people laughed in the right place and I kind of got bitten. And we're now here almost 11 years later. And yeah, the journey, the sort of things you described have happened, and it's been quite surreal. I left London after 6.5 years into my stand-up career, because that was when I left my day job and went into comedy full time.
Oh.
And so I didn't want to spend my hard-earned comedy earnings paying rent in London. And also, like, if I did want to pay rent in London, I'd have to significantly downgrade my lifestyle. And I was in my mid-30s. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I moved back home. My mum's on her own, so I moved back in with my mum. And now I commute from Blackburn in the north of England, and where I need to go. For example, tonight, after this, I've got a gig in Liverpool, which you'll know from the Beatles.
I know it from soccer. Give me some credit. I pay attention. I'm sorry, football.
There's also football, of course. I do not sound Scottish, so I do not know where you've got that from.
You a little bit do. I heard it.
The only thing I can think is that the north of England obviously borders Scotland. And so maybe the watered down southern part of Scotland and the hard part of northern England, maybe there's a slight mix, but it's no one in Britain has ever said to me, I sound Scottish.
That's because no one in Britain knows. I'm listening hard, Tez, and I've heard it a few times. I'm like, there's a little bit of Scottish. I promise you.
Okay. Well, it's purely accidental. Scottish. That's Scottish. And I don't know.
You
Scottish.
do it a little more subtly than that.
Scottish. But
okay.
No. Okay, fine. And your final question was, what was your last question?
When is your US tour?
My US tour. Well, now that you have voted out the guy who wouldn't want me there, not that I think Joe Biden particularly wants me there, but, he's not overtly against me being in your country, I don't think. It's something that I want to look at. Obviously, we've got to look at this Corona stuff as well. But maybe 2022, maybe hit the major cities, New York, DC, LA.
You feel called towards, you think DC would have, I guess that makes sense. That's sort of
Michigan.
Crushing it in Michigan. That's a huge market.
Dearborn, right?
How do you know about Dearborn?
I am very well versed in American geography. From watching, a lifetime of watching WWF and WWE growing up. So they always live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm like, Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania. Okay, good to know. And so, they went across. I'm not saying it's not amazing. I don't think I could list all 50 states off the top of the dome, but I kind of know a little bit. And I know Dearborn, Michigan has a massive Muslim American population. That I'm aware of that because, when you're on Twitter as well, you just absorb things. People just absorb information that it's just there. And you're just okay, Dearborn has a big Muslim population. Check.
That's so interesting. Okay. I had heard that too. There's also, I believe there's a Muslim population, weirdly it's not Nebraska. It's in a pocket of Kansas. We have weird spots where there's Muslims who are, yeah, it's cool. It's the community. All right. So I have to understand. So I want to go back really quickly. Have you, so with the comedy thing, when you were I just think of a first show and it makes me want to throw up everywhere. So you do this first show, and because your friends were super, they laughed at the right places, you mentioned the word, you got bit. So were you like, oh, this forever? This is all I want to do?
Kind of. I don't think I was as honest as that with myself, but I definitely knew that I wanted to carry this on as far as I can. Because I didn't know where as far as I can would be. As far as I can could have been a year down the line going, okay, well, this has been great. Now back to the day job because I've got a super good promotion and now I don't have time to do it anymore. Or it's where I am now and maybe even, I have ambition to be beyond where I am. So, things have worked out. But that first show, I remember that feeling of just, because there's never been there's things I've been all right at in life. There are jobs that I've been okay at, but I've never been as good at anything as I am good at in stand-up comedy. Even sports. I love sports. I'm super enthusiastic about sports. But my talent does not match my enthusiasm. There's a big gap between those two things. And so I was never good. I was always the last pick in football, even in cricket, which is a sport that we play over here. And so I was never the athlete. I was never the most handsome kid in school that got all the girls. So, I was always kind of just bobbling along, doing okay, hosting. And when then stand-up hit, I was like, okay, I think this is the thing that I am best at that I've ever tried. And also I enjoy it a lot as well. And so I thought to myself, there are friends that I'm gigging with on the open mic circuit that are going to make it. And so I'm going to do everything I can in my power to see how far I can take this, because I don't want to be in a position in 10 years' time where I gave up after 2 years and then I see my friends who are maybe not as good as I am at that stage, making it. And I was like, and then talking to my friends going, that could have been me. And they're laughing at me going, yeah, right, mate, whatever.
That would be crushing. So, yeah, I wouldn't be able to handle that. So wait, so what were your... Okay, so that makes sense to me as far as like, this felt like the most natural progression. But it combines some of people's biggest fears, like standing up in front of people, being vulnerable and talking, because you talk incredibly deeply about your own personal experience. He makes it funny, y'all, watch the specials, but you get real. And so isn't there like that level of vulnerability? Did you start with that in comedy? You were like, nope, I'm unzipping my skin, here we go. How'd you get there?
No, it came later. I think it came when I started developing my first one-man show, so my first hour. Before that, it was just make people laugh. And then me and my manager sat down and we thought, what is it that I want to say in this hour? It could be an hour of jokes, and that I'm sure would be fine. Or we could use it to say something. We decided to do the latter. We thought we should, given what is happening in the world, what people's views on Muslims are, is there not a responsibility so much, but is there something that you want to use this platform for? Is there something that you want to use this hour to do? And I thought, some food for thought here. And I thought I should. I think I'm now at the stage, I think I've done 2 or 3 shows like that, but I'm now at the stage where I'm slightly moving away from that and focusing more on the just make people laugh for an hour. I think I'm going back to that route, because I think the things I want to say, they're just there they're going to be there for a long time. Like, they're not changing. And it's like, am I just going to sound like a broken record? As the world is getting more and more polarized, is my show going to be more polarizing? I don't want that. So I think I kind of write to a theme anyway. So why not leave all that stuff I want to say in the subtext rather than the pretext?
That's fascinating.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure it does. Yeah. And I feel like, just dealing with... you're making my brain bleed. Like, I hadn't thought about the fact that you have addressed a lot of, hate crimes and just overtly different treatment towards Muslims in whatever country you happen to be in. And so it's, you don't want to be the dude beating that drum, but I understand that conflict but you still want to have purposeful dialogue that's not just like fart jokes and burps and whatever. And it's like, haha, isn't this funny? It's like, yes. Yeah, that's a really hard balance. That's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to watch what you do in the future. Okay, so you wrote a book in quarantine?
I did.
You did that. Yeah, like a real asshole. So how?
I'm like an absolute dickhead.
Yeah. How?
The worst person. Just wrote a little. Look how thick it is.
Yeah, that's a lot of pages.
It's a tomb. Yeah. Look how cute I was.
Look at how cute you used to be. What happened? Look at 13 and 3/4 Tez.
You know what? I got handsome. That's what happened.
Now you're getting the ladies. It's good. Wait, so what? How did you do that?
Why is the question? A publisher came to us right at the start of lockdown and just said, do you fancy writing your memoirs? I think people might be interested in that. And the idea of writing a book was so daunting. Because if I write one, I want to write a proper one. I don't want to write like 100 pages. I want to write a proper book that people can sink their teeth into. And so I thought about it, and I thought, well, it is. And then it seemed like lockdown was going to prolong, and it didn't seem like this is going to be a 1-month thing. So I thought, you know what, maybe this is the opportunity to, tick that box off the bucket list and be like, yeah, I've written a book. So we talked about it back and forth to the publishers over a month. And then we virtually shook hands, and then I started writing it over the summer. And it's a memoir of my teenage years growing up in the north of England during the 90s as a British Pakistani Muslim kid. And yeah, it was just a fascinating experience going down memory lane, talking to my friends, talking to my family, going over my school reports, which I've kept in meticulous condition because I was a nerd. So that was what a good kid he was to keep that and not throw it away. God bless him. And yeah, it was amazing experience to do. And I'm so glad I got it done because it was hard. I realized, like, since I quit my day job and since my third show, which I wrote in 2017, I've been a bit lazy. I haven't really written that much. And so I lost the stamina of working, of the discipline of sitting down and working 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I don't have it anymore. And so finding that again over the summer was a challenge. But I managed to do it. I had a brilliant editor who gave me some good advice along the way and checked everything when she needed to. So that was good. And then, we released it on my birthday on the 8th of April.
That's
So, yeah,
fantastic.
it's now out there. The hardback, the ebook on the Kindle or wherever you get your ebooks from, and also the audio, which I recorded myself, obviously, because I'm a comedian. And so a lot of people have been really keen on the audiobook. So if you've got an Audible account, give me your credit for the month.
I think that they're keen on it because of your borderline Scottish accent. They're like, what do I hear here that's a little bit different? I think it's that. That's fantastic. So how long?
The most amazing compliment I had, I was doing a book event last week in Bath, which is a very beautiful city we have here. And one of the ladies who was organizing it, like behind the scenes, she'd listened to my audiobook and she sent me a message later saying, oh, it was really nice to meet you and stuff. And I could listen to you all night. Like, I just want you to wake me up every day just with your voice. And in my head, I was like, oh, hello. And then it turns out she's gay. And I was like, oh, she just likes my talent. Okay, cool. Okay.
Damn it.
Okay, she genuinely just likes me for my talent and is not fetishizing me. That is how awful.
I know. What a missed opportunity. That's such a bummer.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so you spend, did it take you, because quarantine has, I mean, in the UK, you guys took it seriously because you had, some leadership that actually didn't want you to die. So did you?
Well, I mean.
It's questionable, but more so than ours. The bar is not high.
Okay. Yeah, the bar isn't very high.
No. Okay, so how long of that actual period of, well, now we're in over a year, but how long did it take you start to finish to pump out a thick tome of a book?
The first draft took me 10 weeks, I would say.
Fucking insane.
But
That's
also, like, it is about my life. Like, I was writing about myself. So it wasn't like, I wasn't writing Game of Thrones, I wasn't writing 1984. I was writing about me. So that makes the subject matter was easier, just about what to write. The first draft was a piece of shit as well. And then then there's probably another couple of months worth of editing. Some of it very painful because I hate editing. I'm not very good at it. Yeah, sort of the back and forth with the editor. And my editor broke her arm at one point. She broke her arm, not because of my book, but she just
but maybe
coincidentally, yeah, maybe. But she broke her arm, and so she couldn't do the typing thing. So she had to get another editor in, who she had to give notes to, for what she wanted to look in the edit. And then I had to, and then my editor came back like a month. It was just that window, because we needed this book to come out in the spring. If the book was coming out later, it would have been fine. We just waited for her to get better. But we needed that window, and that window was crucial. So she had to just draft someone else in. So that was interesting as well. So went through quite a journey together. It was good.
Why did it have to come out in the spring?
She wanted it to coincide with Ramadan.
Oh.
Which was like 5 days after my birthday. And so she was keen for it to come out then, because that is a time when people who are not Muslim might be engaged in finding out about what it is to be Muslim or what Muslims do and stuff. So she thought, she's smart.
Yeah.
She was doing her job.
Yeah. Is that was the editor or your manager?
Editor.
Now, your manager is also female, correct?
Yes, she is, yeah.
And you've given her, in previous interviews, you've given her a ton of credit for the way that she's sort of helped your career.
Yeah, she's amazing.
How did you find her?
So so Polly and her husband, Gelly, they're husband and wife partnership. And I always feel bad because I always leave him out of the praise. But Polly and Gelly, love them both. So Polly's dad opened one of the oldest comedy clubs in the UK, Up the Creek Comedy Club in Greenwich, London. So Polly's dad owned that. I think he still owns it. He owns that. And then around the late noughties, early tens, Polly and Gelly started running the open mic night. So they started programming the open mic night. And on the open mic night, they noticed some comics that they liked and some comics that had a lot of potential. And Polly worked in TV at the time. She made her way up from TV, to quite a junior producer kind of role. So she knew everyone across the TV landscape, and therefore in comedy as well. So there was one guy she particularly liked called Dane Baptiste, and they're really enamored with him, a black guy from London. And they tried to get him management because he was unrepresented. And everyone just kept knocking them back. And one of the agents replied back saying, and bear in mind, this is like 2013, 14, so not that long ago. But one of the management that they emailed came back and said, oh, but we already have a black guy. So,
sure.
And we're talking like 7, 8 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. So in their frustration, they decided to create their own management.
Amazing.
And so Dane was their first client, and I came in very early on. I think I was like second or maybe third person in. So yeah, so I'd done their night through their open mic night. So I think the first time I went there, Polly thought I was really arrogant and shit. And now she really thinks I'm arrogant. So we made some progress. No, I just think I left a very good impression with her. But one of the other guys they signed, Inel, one of the other guys they signed. Yes, I was third because Inel was second. He was adamant that they look at me properly, because Polly was like, I've seen him, like I'm not. I think it was the third time that they saw me, the penny dropped, and they were like, oh, okay, we get it now, we're on board. And then they made an approach, and I think it was 6 months, like back and forth, I eventually said yes. And that was December 2013. I signed with them, and so it was really nice for me, because as my career was progressing, the management company, that was growing and progressing. So it's kind of like my growth was their growth and their growth was my growth. So we were kind of just really invested in each other. And Polly Garrity are amazing. They only take on clients that they genuinely believe in. They're not obviously, they want to make money, but that they don't take on clients who will immediately make the money. They take on clients that they can nurture and who have the potential to be something. And for them, it's about the work primarily. The money is, a bonus.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's very rare that that a management company would want to grow especially a new management company would want to grow the talent, because there's a huge likelihood, especially, in the States, where as soon as your talent has grown and one of the larger alphabet agencies comes after you, you're like, deuces, thank you so much. This was great. I'm out. And then you go somewhere else. So it's lovely that they've cultivated loyalty, which is very rare. Yeah,
they have. But also the United Kingdom, Great Britain, is the size of one of your smaller states.
That's fair.
It is different over here.
Just slightly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So United States of America is effectively Europe. Like, it's massive, geographically, culturally, aesthetically. You guys are from major cities to deserts to rainforests, and everything in between. So, you guys are a continent. It's a completely different landscape. So I understand why you might need your sort of medium to small agent to get to a certain level, and then you need the bigger guys to take you to places. Whereas here, the smaller to medium guys, the bespoke agencies can do that. They can swim with the big guys.
But your comics are contenders in the US. I mean, you all are, you're going up against the big guys here. I mean, so I think it's pretty incredible for the size of your country that you're able to compete comedically and with programming. I mean, we steal all of your shows and then bastardize them and make a lot of money off of them. Like, everybody forgets we do.
But I think you guys are better at it than us now.
Do you think that way?
But I guess it always depends on your taste as well. American stand-up is much better at commentary than British stand-up is.
Do you think that really?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle, Sarah Silverman, Bill Burr, all those guys. Britain is very, very good at observational, whimsical, sort of laughing at ourselves, laughing at each other kind of thing. But if you want to do commentary about society, Americans are where it's at.
Ricky Gervais and Eddie Izzard are two of the most prolific, in my opinion, commentary comics, wouldn't you? Or no?
True. But Ricky Gervais is very divisive.
He is, deliberately so, yes.
But then I guess so is Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle, I guess. But I guess there was I think Ricky Gervais was very inspired by American comedy, though.
Sure.
And Eddie Izzard is very, very whimsical with his comedy.
Fair.
It's very, very British. Whereas Ricky Gervais is there's a clear American influence on Ricky Gervais' stand-up, I think.
Okay, we're going to get out of this section in a second, but I want to know who are the comics that you love the most? I'm putting you on the spot.
I mean, the obvious stand-up people, Dave Chappelle is an absolute hero of mine. In Britain, we've got a guy called Stuart Lee, who I love to bits. He's absolutely amazing. Do check out his stuff on YouTube. I think BBC America will probably carry some of his stuff as well, but he's great. But then I'm a massive fan of writers. I get massively influenced by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, Armando Iannucci, who wrote The Thick of It, and also Veep, which you guys will know over there. And, the guys who wrote Rick and Morty. I remember the first time I watched Rick and Morty, and I couldn't enjoy it. I only enjoyed it the second time I watched it, because the first time I watched it, I was too angry. Because I was like, why?
Is this so good?
How is it so good? These are human beings. These are human beings have written. I'm a human being. Why can't I? Fuck off.
Yeah, it's jealousy, right?
I just fuck off. I couldn't even laugh. Every time I wanted to laugh, I was like, oh, piss off, man.
I wish I would have thought of that. That's awesome.
This is so good. It's not even I wish I could have thought of it. I just don't think I'm, what they've done, I don't think I'm capable of. When you see some, it's I guess the difference between watching a good athlete and the best athlete. There'll be people who will have played with Michael Jordan and just play them going, oh, fuck off.
Right.
Why is he like this? What? That's completely unnecessary. What?
He's ruining everything.
Just come on. I guess that's how I feel about those guys. I'm just like, oh, really, guys?
Must you?
Come on now. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, the second time I really enjoyed it, and it's like this is phenomenal stuff. So yeah, I get very inspired. Like pretty like I watched South Park. I watched the whole of South Park at a very particular age, very formative years, and it had a massive influence of me. This idea of like, everyone and no one's a target sort of thing. It's very, very...
Which is a brilliant model. If they're going after everybody, then nobody gets to be precious, which is so perfect for comedy.
Yeah. And also they're just really funny.
Yeah, they are.
Just really funny. And just, like I'm Muslim, so I hold my religion in a lot of reverence. But there's something about watching something that holds nothing in reverence. It's quite something.
Have you seen Book of Mormon?
I have seen the Book of Mormon, and it was very blasphemous. But despite that, it's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
Top to bottom.
Because Christians and Muslims, we believe in the same God, right?
Correct.
So I'm watching that and I'm like, this is also my God, but it is brilliant.
Yeah, and that says a lot about you that you were able to watch it with a bit of detachment, because I think that probably was a hard thing to watch.
Yeah, I don't think people are objective enough in society.
I agree.
I think people just take things too personally.
Yes.
And I'm like, I think people have every right to be offended. Be offended. Great. Maybe write a tweet about it. But also, just get over it. Like
Yes.
you could just get over it.
You could just choose to.
Like that's a choice, right?
It's obvious. Yeah.
There are so many things that offend my sensibilities that I just choose to not interact with. I'm like, all right, well, they're doing their thing. And also, like, audiences are a great barometer of what is generally acceptable. So whilst you might get the odd audience that lets stuff fly, maybe, I don't know how it is in America, but in Britain, audiences, and I'm talking about like your blue collar, working class, plumbers, etc., like they will not let blatant racism, homophobia, whatever, fly on a stand-up stage. Like they might have an un-PC sense of humor, and they might let more things fly than an artsy-farty liberal, sure. But if you're overtly racist, or like, if a white guy was to come out and just liberally sprinkle his set with the N-word or the P-word or something, the audience would not allow it. The audience would... I've seen it where I've been heckled with something racist, and before I'm able to use my wit to shut it down, the audience have shut that situation down. And I'm talking about like bear pits, Friday, Saturday night comedy clubs, where you're fighting for every second of stage time. And the audiences do not have it. So I just think there is something about like, if something offends, because something will offend everyone. I put out a tweet yesterday that said, who called it the Indian variant and not Vinda flu? And I think most people took it in the spirit in which it's intended. But there were people just there going, I don't think this is appropriate. 300,000 people have done it. And I'm like, but you don't have to think about that. Like, you could just think, maybe he didn't mean this to mock 300,000 people. Maybe that's not what he's doing here.
And maybe he's a comic. And like maybe finding the humor in things is kind of an important part of surviving all of those things.
Oh
because
my God. Could you imagine these people going on duty with paramedics? Like, they wouldn't last half an hour because paramedics
have the darkest sense of
jobs. Yeah, you have to have a dark sense of humor. And if you ever mic'd paramedics, our society would demand all of them lose their jobs.
Sure, cancel them all. Yeah,
because that's who we're becoming. But I just think there should be some grace given to comedians. Otherwise, it's just going to be some watered down shit. And also, they will come for your heroes.
Ooh, and they are.
Well, they are. Yeah, they will come for all of us because we've all said some stuff, especially when you're working stuff out.
Yes.
Oh, the stuff I've said at open mic nights. Jesus. I'm glad I didn't record my sets because if they ever got leaked. Because there's a time to experiment and you say stuff and you push stuff and you see what you can. Because also, different people can get away with different things.
Also true.
There are things that Bill Burr can get away with that, someone else wouldn't be able to get away with because he's Bill Burr. He's a certain amount of charm, charisma, cheekiness that other comics don't have. There are things that Sarah Silverman can get away with that. What's her name? I guess she isn't getting away with it now because they're coming for her, aren't they? One joke by joke, they are coming for Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, they are.
But there are things that Sarah Silverman got away with for years which I think is unfair, by the way. But there are things that Sarah Silverman got away with for years that. What's her name?
Eliza Schlesinger, Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer. That people never let Amy Schumer get away with.
Sure.
Because people liked Sarah Silverman for slightly different reasons. So different comics will get away with different things. Black comics will get away with things that the rest of us can't say and that is right. That is correct.
Does that make you fearful for the future of comedy?
No, I guess a little bit, but I also feel like the most skilled comics will find a way to navigate this, and the more skilled comics will build an audience who will protect them, I think.
Oof, that's fair.
I mean, look at Andrew Schultz. Whatever you might think about him, the guy's an amazing writer, but there are things that he says on stage that other comics could not get away with. Because of how he delivers the joke, but also because now he has an army of fans to protect him. So whether or not he gets another Netflix special, or whether or not the entire Hollywood machine decide he's too toxic to work with or too raw to work with, or whatever the term might be, he's got an army of fans who will protect him, so it doesn't really matter. And I guess that's what we're all striving for, right? Is to have our own fan base that we can monetize, so that if they do ever decide that our jokes were not really too inappropriate, or not, you can't say them anymore, whatever, then we got our fans who are like, well, we don't care because that's what we loved you for.
That's great. That's a really... Yeah, you're making me, I'm trying to keep the pace moving, but I'm so interested and want to ask you 100 more questions. All right, we have to get out of this section because I have 1,000 other things to ask you. Okay, so folks, we hope you enjoyed your apps. We're going to move on to the entrees after a quick break. Okay, we are back, and now it is time for the entrees. Okay, Tez, this is the speed round of questions. You can throw in stories if you want, and this is where we find out what the day job was that you quit when you were moving into comedy full time, which is like the dream of any artist, to be able to do their thing full time. So, but we're gonna go in order. Okay, what was your first job ever where the government was taking taxes out? Or I don't know how England works. You all probably don't have taxes. You have like Queen's fees or whatever the hell it is. But like, what was your first job ever?
My first job ever wasn't taxed because it was a paper round.
Oh, well, that's customer service though.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't taxed.
Okay.
The first time, I think we don't tax students here. If you're in full-time study, you don't get taxed.
So it's as if they prioritize you being educated over being like financially ruined. That's weird.
Yes. But it's weird hearing someone give our government any credit as well. That's making me...
okay. Okay.
I'm like, because these policies have been... I don't know which government created them. It's not this government. I can tell you that. It's not the current government.
Okay.
But yeah, students generally... And actually, to be fair, it might have changed for all I know. But when I was working at that age, we didn't get taxed if you were in full-time... Up to full-time college education. So if you were working a summer job, a second job, whatever... an evening job or whatever for your studies or whatever, then you that is not taxed, as long as you fill in the tax information properly. Because sometimes you did get taxed and then you could just claim it back because you can prove that you were studying.
And I want to go back to the
whole host of jobs there.
Okay, so but you said your first job was a paper round. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, paper round. Yeah.
Does that mean paper route? Is that where you throw out newspapers? Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. So I love seeing that on American TV. Like you guys, like the paper boy, like throwing newspapers. No, we delivered ours door to door.
Oh, you're
through the letterbox.
How proper. Yeah, that's just so British.
We didn't have lawns to throw papers into. And even if we did, they'd all get wet, and then people would complain. So no, we had to go door to door posting papers.
Oh, that takes 3 times as long. But again, you guys are very small, so you probably had all the time for it. Okay. So how long did you do that job?
Probably 6 months.
Oh, you didn't last very long.
No, it was at 15, I think.
Okay.
At 15 years of age, 14, 15 between. So I was 14 when I started, 15 when I finished. And it's probably about 6 to 10 months, somewhere around from. So I started like in autumn, winter and finished in the summer.
Why'd you quit?
I went for the summer on a family trip to Pakistan to visit family.
Oh.
My sister was getting married.
Wow.
And then when I came back, I was in my senior year, my final year of school, and I didn't want the distraction of work.
You were a nerd. You did tell us that. That's right. So school was important.
That's right.
Okay.
Correct.
Did you sharpen all your pencils and like get your uniform? Like, was everything very...
Oh my God.
You did?
I was like double underlined everything. I used different pens. I used different pens for different things.
Oh, teachers loved you, I bet. Gross.
Well, no, because I was also very obnoxious. Like, I loved learning, but what I loved more than learning was interrupting class. So I was that kid.
Wait, were you the class clown then? Do they have superlatives for you?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I got put on report, which is a thing that naughty kids get put on. Like, and it's rare that a kid gets put on it. It's like when the teachers at the end of their tether, they put a kid on report. And when you're on report, it lasts for 2 weeks. And every evening, you have to take this form home to your parents. And at every lesson, a teacher has said whether you behaved or not. And then your mum signs it at the end of the day. And you do that every day for 2 weeks. And I got put on that. And it's very rare that it happens. And I got put on it 3 times in high school over the years.
Jesus. Oh my
and I was in top sets for everything. Like, I was in the most advanced classes for everything. So, like, there was a real juxtaposition between... Like, it didn't happen. Like, people in top sets weren't put on report. It just wasn't the same.
Because they were so busy learning and being nerds. And you got put on it 3 times. He's hold up his fingers.
Or they would shut up when they were told to shut up. Like, or they learned their lesson when... The first time they got in trouble, they'd be like, okay, yeah, if I do that, I get in trouble, right? And I was like, will I?
Personal challenge. I'm going to do it 3 times. Okay. How many customer service jobs have you had?
That's a good question. God. So the paper round, JGB Sports, which was a shop, and then a multitude of phone things, like on the phone customers and stuff.
Ugh.
So a multitude of them. And the shop at university, at college, I worked there. That was fun. So yeah, there's a load of jobs.
Okay, can you ballpark a number?
10?
It's a good round number.
10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I would throw comedy in there too, because I think that's a version of customer service. So I would say
That's
11.
True, the most important one.
Yeah, I would say, because, you know, your customers determine.
Oh yeah, because I've done summer camps and I've been security. Like, I've done a lot.
Oh, did you have...
No, look at this. I mean, this guy doing security. Come on.
You're very intimidating. It's the beard.
What was I securing? I have no idea.
What were you securing?
The local festival.
That's tough.
On my watch, I had the night shift, and I spent 4 of the night shifts reading Lord of the Rings, because the following winter the first film was coming out, and I wanted to get ahead of it because I'd never read them before. Because the book's always better than the movie, and I was a nerd.
Yeah.
So I read Lord of the Rings, and on my watch, I went into one of the tents and just all night read this book, and I came out, and the supervisor was like, "Hey, have you been doing the route? Like, have you been walking around?" Yes, obviously. And he's like, "Oh, cool, let's like 6 a.m. now." He's like, "Yeah, let's do one." And he's walking, we're just talking about life and things. We turn on a corner and one of the tents is burnt down.
Oh my God.
Like, to a crisp, like burnt down. And he just looks at me like, "So, what's that?" And I just thought to myself, this man didn't come into the tent going, "Oh my God, what have you been doing? A tent's been burnt down." He came in
to shame you.
Absolutely played me, marinated me, made me walk half my route, turn a corner, and then gone, "What's this? Huh? What's happening here? What's this now?" And I was like, yeah, it was like the St. John's ambulance, like the first aid tent. Someone had burnt it down.
Oh my God.
I later found out who did it. I mean, I got obviously immediately fired.
Sure.
But I later found out it was my regular night shift partner who was off that night had done it.
Why?
Because he was really annoyed at the people organising it and stuff. I mean, that's the sort of place I come from, because he's really annoyed at the people who were running the festival. And he didn't realize I'd get sacked, so he's a bit sorry about that. But yeah, that's what happened.
Wow. I mean, God bless that supervisor who's like, "Oh, this is gonna be a long experience of punishment." Like,
what's this?
Cannot.
What's this now?
What do you think this is?
Like, what's going on?
I would have just been like, "This was standing an hour ago. What? That was so fast."
Like, wasn't it always like this? Was it?
Isn't it meant to be an example for people? Okay.
Oh my God.
What was your favorite, and you can't say comedy, what's your favorite job of all of your customer service jobs?
Oh, definitely the summer camps.
Okay. What'd you do at summer camps?
So I did a couple of summer camps in Britain, in England, at my university. So one of them was it was called NAGTY, the National Academy for Gifted and Talented Youth.
What are they doing trusting you? You're a class clown. Like, how are they? The gifted kids probably loved you. They were like, "This guy's crazy."
Oh, they did.
I bet.
They did. They loved me. So I was very popular on those summer camps. And I think that was a big part of it, because I could get the kids to behave just because they liked me so much. Because I'd be like, come on. And they'd be like, all right. So it was very much a sort of, because you're asking me, okay.
I'll do it.
They're very much, that sort of relationship. They'd be like, Tez, could you just come and get the, I'd be like, Nick, come on now. And he's like, I just don't like you. And I'm like, but for me, come on. And then he'd be like, no, okay then. So I really enjoyed those jobs. And there was one time, I didn't make a girl cry by accident though. There's one time, so I really enjoyed having dinner with the kids. So everyone else, the other counsellors always had dinner with each other. I liked having dinner with the kids. And there was one time I was with this group of kids that I've been looking after all day. And this girl sat next to me. She must have been no older than 14. And she'd got her dessert. She got like her dinner. She put it down and she looked away. And she had a gingerbread man on her tray. And I picked up, I bit his head off and put it back. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. It's a funny thing to do. It's funny. Right. She turned around and started crying.
Good. I hope you felt bad, poor thing.
What do you mean good? Why? I just go and get another one. Why are you crying? But the kids were so scared that I'd get in trouble. One of them owned up to it.
Get out of here. You taught those children how to lie for each other and not snitch. What fantastic lessons.
Because the kids were like, he's a grown-ass man.
He would never.
Who should know better. He should not have done this.
That's why they're gifted. Yeah.
And as a mature, gifted youth, I will take this, I will take the hit for
I'll
him.
take this bullet. Oh my God.
And at no point was I like, you don't have to do that. I was like,
I was just going to ask you that.
Yes.
You're like, yes, Thomas, you should absolutely.
That's a really good idea. Oh God, that's why you're my favorite.
This is a life lesson. That's why I did it. I'm trying to teach you how to take up for one another.
We taught those kids a lot of resilience.
I bet.
I was on it with my best mate, and that was a bad idea.
Of course.
And we just gave the kids awful nicknames. There's one girl who was blind in one eye, and we called her Blinky, just because, but she loved it. I think she was so used to people tiptoeing around her entire life.
Sure.
She was like, she just really enjoyed it. She felt like she was one of the gang. And she just loved that people called her Blinky.
I can't. I mean, I think it's bringing them into the fold and not treating them as precious. Wow,
Right.
Here, I'm amazing.
I do it the same way when I'm on stage and if I'm interacting with the audience and I see a member of the audience who's disabled, I don't think to myself, well, I'm not going to talk to that person.
They can't handle it.
Yeah, because I'm like, no, if I'm going to talk to that person and if they're a dick, I'm going to roast them.
100%.
I remember once this is the worst thing I've ever said on stage, but I was at a gig and the guy was in a wheelchair. I asked him what he does. He said he was a priest. And I was like, oh, so have you not prayed to get better? And it was fun. It was just fun for everyone. We all had a good time.
Oh my God.
We all had a good time. It was nice.
I'm crying. What did he say when you said that?
He was just like, that's not how it works. And I was like,
well, how does it work? Because Jesus turned water into wine. Can't he give you legs? I don't understand.
Well, I was like, I know.
I'm crying.
Sorry.
I cannot.
Hurt myself.
You weren't that sorry. You just repeated it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I want to go. So real quick. So you were camp counselor for a minute, but when you said, I wrote it down.
I also did it in New York, by the way. I was a camp counselor. I came to Camp America.
Oh, you did?
So I was a camp counselor in a summer camp in upstate New York in Bear Mountain. And it was a rough-ass camp for kids from Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, the Black Latino kids. And so everyone who was working on the camp were also from those areas. So suddenly I was, coming from England, I was suddenly with people who were in the Crips and all that sort of, and I was like, oh, this is, I feel like I'm in a film. That was pretty cool. And on that one, I struggled to get up in the mornings. And this one morning I slept in and missed the call for the kids and that. And it was the second or third time it happened, over a few weeks, the second or third time it happened. And the camp counselor, who didn't really like me much, the camp leader, the head of the camp, she wanted to fire me. And then it was a meeting with her, the camp leader, and then all of the heads of the different little bits. So the house heads and the head of the swimming or whatever. And she just said to me that she had to let me go. And I was gutted because my flight is not for another 2 weeks. So I've got what am I going to do? And then Heather, who is Scottish, who'd been on the summer camp for a couple of years, so she's very well respected. She, without any consultation with me, she said, Sandy, you should be aware that if Tez is let go, 8 counselors are prepared to walk out.
Was that true? No way that was true.
I don't think it was, but she just called her bluff though. And she was like, yeah, they're prepared to walk out. They just like he's too popular. And she was like, she just got put into a bind, and so got moved from my normal camp to the day camp. The kids who came in at 11 and left at 4. So I got moved.
You got to sleep. So it worked out better for you. Then the title of your next book needs to be like People Take Up For Me and It Keeps Saving My Ass. Like it just, that's the next thing you have to discuss because so many people have taken up for you. Like, holy shit.
I was just sitting there going,
amazing. You're very smart though. You know, like you might be a class clown, but you're also I'm just going to
know when to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, that's a skill in and of itself.
Also, there were so many things. I mean, I deserve to be sacked from that camp.
Of course you did.
There was a camp across the lake from us that we called Fun Camp because they had like those balloons in the water, the obstacle things in the water.
That's awesome.
So we call them Fun Camp. So one night when we had a curfew, me and my fellow friends, the adults, that is, we sneaked round the lake to that mountain and just...
No, you did not. He's making a gesture as if he had like a sharp object in his hand and then just went towards those inflated fun inflatables that were for the kids. He went and popped the things for the kids, just to be clear. Go ahead. So you did that and then what? Went back to the camp and pretended like nothing happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Well, we went to bear in mind we're in curfew. So we went to a bar before that called Legends, and they had merchandise that had Legends on it. So we bought that first, and then did the thing that I just described. Mm-hmm. We also run a couple of fire circles there, but it looked like a really fun camp.
Sure.
Not that I could see much of it in the dark, but regardless, that's what we did.
Sure.
And then we came back and went to breakfast in the morning wearing Legends t-shirts, and people were like, "Where have you been?" And we're like, "Just
right here at this particular bar." That was it.
Right
That's
now.
all we did. We definitely didn't go over there.
At one point, we locked the head of each camp thing. So there was like the small kids, the middle kids, the senior kids, and the ones older than them. So like each one had like a head, and they slept in one place, and we locked them in. Like we padlocked the outside, and then threw the keys into the lake.
That's not true. You absolutely didn't.
Yeah, because it was because at some point, where was it? There were like 4 of us waiting on this. One of them locked himself in because he was going out with one of the girls who was the head. So he locked himself in. So we had a man on the inside. So he could do that. So he could throw the scent off us from the inside. And bear in mind, it's like one big round box with like a sentence with like each person had a room, but they could all talk to each other like a prison cell. And so we locked it from the outside and then threw the keys into the lake. Because like that way you cannot prove it was us. No one can run up to it then. No one can say, "Oh, it was us."
It was so.
No one can say, "Oh, I've got the keys under my pillow," or whatever. It's like we're all in this now. None of us can run up to it.
If you were to get bored with comedy, I just want to say like either organized crime or politics, which are kissing cousins, I feel like you would do well in both of those lanes as well because you get big picture and you have men on the inside. Like this is some organized crime shit.
Yeah, it was very I mean, they ended up getting married, which is nice. Molly and Aaron. That was nice.
Did you go to the wedding?
I did. That was the second time I've been to New York. Is in 2011. That's how I know Rochester because that's where the wedding was.
Okay.
Otherwise, how else would I know that name? Yeah, I mean, the reason why my tour show in the winter is called Populist is because a lot of people tell me that I should run for politics, and I wanted to write a show about why that is a really bad idea.
Good. Well, you're going to speak to it. Don't answer it here.
Particularly unsuited to it.
Okay, well, watch the special that he's in the middle of writing, folks, to answer that question. Okay, what was your least favorite of all of your customer service jobs?
Always the ones on the phone. Like, I had this one job where we had to, when you're calling people to sell them things. That's ugly. That's
wicked.
Not nice.
It's wicked.
So I was ringing people up trying to sell them timeshares in holiday homes abroad.
Is that true? Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a movie.
I'm like, I don't believe in this.
Yeah.
I didn't sell a single. I think I worked there for 2 weeks. I didn't sell a single thing. I ended up getting. There was one time where I rang up someone called William Wallace, and that was interesting
because he's Scottish and you're also Scottish, and it's like Scottish roots, and there's
and that was when he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not interested," and I'm like, "Oh, but you can take my timeshare, but you'll never take my freedom." And then he went, "Really?" And I went, "Yeah," and then he hung up. So.
He just says, "Really?" and you just say, "Yeah." Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, it has just happened. Bear in mind, I've called him.
Sure.
It's not like he's called me and I've
Right.
gone, isn't William Wallace a wonderful name? He's called me. I mean, I've called him and then I've been cheeky on top of that.
Yeah, that seems to be your approach to a lot of things, like earned
It is a bit,
cheekiness. Yeah. Okay.
I left that. Well, I got sacked from that job because there was one evening I couldn't be asked going in, and I rang
Wait,
in and
I
told
want to
them-
translate that. I couldn't be asked is one of my favorite British isms that exist. It's like can't be bothered. We would say like, fuck off, I don't want to do it. Can't be asked is such a beautiful. Anyway, sorry. So you didn't want to go to work. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, so I couldn't be asked to go to work. So I rang up, and this was like 2002-ish, and I said that I had SARS.
Tez.
So SARS had just broken out at that time. It was like the coronavirus of 2002.
It was
I
bad.
was really worried about it. It was really bad. So I told them that I had SARS, and the
Tez.
woman, like the supervisor, was like, and I was like, yeah, I can't come in.
Oh my God.
And then she was like, okay. And then the next day I went in.
You couldn't
she was
have
like-
gone in. If you had SARS, you would. That's
Well,
terrible.
I mean, you don't know my immune system in my defense. And so I went in and she said, oh, I thought you had SARS. And I went, well, yeah, so did I.
Oh my God.
But I don't.
Oh,
And so she sent me home. And then I came in the next day and she said, when I sent you home, you were sacked. Like,
that was a wrap. That was
like
it.
don't ever come back in. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just-
Glad we got that cleared up.
Yeah.
I have SARS. Oh my God. Wait, how did you get roped into phone jobs?
Just needed like this sort of vacancy. Like I can't remember where I saw them, but I just needed like just different jobs and stuff.
Filler.
And just
Okay.
different vacancies in different places. Yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you've been asked to do whilst on the clock?
Oh God. I mean, there was one time when I was doing one of the security jobs. This is separate to the one where the thing burnt down. This was in another town.
Were
There
you
was, like, a big
allowed the
festival going
tent
on.
to burn down? Let's get real clear.
Yeah,
The
sure.
thing burned
on
down.
My watch. On my, you know,
Yes.
they're like not on my watch.
Yeah,
I'm like
100% on your watch.
on my watch. So there was a time when I was doing like a security job in another town. This was like the age of 18, 19. And I'm quite small now, but I was a weedy 18-year-old. What they were doing giving me a job, I don't know. But regardless, I think I just needed the numbers.
Yeah.
And because, because I was not white, maybe that made me automatically intimidating.
You're very
I'm not
scary.
sure.
You're very scary.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe. So I ended up being in this, the pit between the stage and the audience.
Sure.
I ended up going in there. And I'd never done that before. I'd never experienced it before. And so watching girls throw themselves hysterically at these people on stage that I do not respect.
Wait, who was on stage? Are you able to tell us?
Oh, it was like Gareth. They were like Pop Factor. So before X Factor, there was like Pop Idol.
Oh, got it.
All American Idol, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But not the winners. You know what I mean?
This is the runoff.
So like,
okay.
yeah, like people, and then other fairly mediocre pop groups in the UK.
Okay.
So it was like a decent, like for kids, it's very exciting. But
Got
for
it.
me, they were doing nothing for me. So I'm watching these girls and I'd never seen it before. That sort of Beatlemania. That's sort of like, but I'd never seen it before because my sisters just weren't that type. So I'd never seen it before, and I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, oh my God, this is really funny. And then I was like, oh no, I think she can't breathe. And then we dragging girls out of like the front. No one died. It was fine.
Oh, okay.
But when someone's too hysterical and they're like, maybe they were fine, but they looked like in trouble to me.
Sure.
Anyway, so we ended up dragging people out of there and into the pit where they had space and stuff. There was one time where one of the pop artists, he left, and we got to talking to some of the girls at the front. And bear in mind, I'm like 17, 18. It's like, when people are chatting you about that age, you got uniform on, you feel a bit like,
Yeah, I'm
and one of the
good.
girls said, oh, so do you talk to him backstage? And I'm like, yeah, obviously.
For hours.
Yeah, he's waiting for us now. and she gave me a poster, and she's like, do you think you could get him to sign this?
Tez, if you say what I think you're going to say, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so
And I'm
mad.
like- and I'm like,
Yeah.
but I can't do it for free.
You son of a...
So,
Keep going, finish.
I got a 10 offer or something, and then I went backstage to find
Yep.
him. I couldn't find
You
him.
didn't try. You didn't try.
You do not know that.
You're smiling. I do know that. Keep going.
And I couldn't find this particular pop star. Gareth Gates was his name. Gareth
Gosh.
Gates. And so I found a pen and signed it.
That's what I thought you were going to say. The money was a surprise. I didn't know it was going that low. So you were going to charge her for your signature. I would not have predicted. Yeah. Go ahead.
I would argue that I'm now more famous than Gareth Gates is.
You know what? That's probably true. But at the time, I
was a fucking nobody.
You were a scrawny 18-year-old pulling bodies out of a... Yeah, okay. So did you find her again and give it back to her? Did she at least have the poster? Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, she got the poster. She was... Honestly, she's so happy.
She was chuffed, as you all like to say.
Yeah, she was chuffed. Bare chuffed, mate.
Wait, that's up there. That was the weirdest thing you've been asked to do? Is to fake a celebrity?
Standing in that pit and just watching and pulling people out who are too hysterical.
Okay.
I think in customer service, that's the weirdest thing I've done.
That's pretty weird. Now, you might have a lot of answers to this. What's an incident that would make any of these customers ask to speak with your manager?
So when I was working, before I came to Camp America and before I went off to do my interesting day job in London, I got myself a call center job in Blackburn for British Telecom. So that's like you sit there and people who got problem with their phones and stuff, your house, your landline. Oh. Who's your landline provider?
Well, the Comcast out here. AT&T
and stuff like that. So like for them. Eventually, I was working for the British Telecom.
Okay.
And so people ring in with their problems. My line's not working, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Which is ironic because they're on the phone to call you and tell you that. Anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. Or the bill's too high, numerous things.
Sure.
My bill doesn't seem right, etc., etc. Or where's my internet, blah, blah, blah. So I figured out a cheat.
This is shocking. This is so off-brand for you. Wow.
So the second someone connected to me from being on hold, it's seamless. I put them back on hold, so they don't know they've been connected. They're on hold, just through to me, back on hold again. So as far as they're like, oh no, I'm still on hold. I then dial them back into the system, and so when the next person answers the call, one of my colleagues, I then let him deal with the customer while and neither of them know I'm on the line.
Wait. Okay, I want to get real clear. You can hear the same call because you picked it up. You are connected.
Yeah. And I dial them back into the system.
Tez, I can already see where this is going. Okay, go ahead. So
I dial them back into the system, so they don't know they don't know someone's answered the phone already. And then the person who have dialed them back into the system and they pick it up, they don't know that someone else is on the call. So then they deal with the call. It's great. My favorite is when, because it's random who picks the phone up next.
Sure.
And when the call center is in India, that's the funniest because you can hear the frustration in the customer's voice.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, you could have had me, but now you're with David from India. And so that was always really
Wait. See, where I thought this was going was then would you make commentary on the line because you could hear?
No.
Oh, see, I thought that's where you were going.
That would be way too much.
Yeah.
But I can't. But when the customer, when the person now dealing with that call goes away to handle the query, I can still hear the customer. So when the customer's
talking shit,
whatever, I can hear all of that. And that's really funny.
Yeah, if they say terrible racist shit, I would have jumped in and been like, people can still hear you.
And so we had to average, I think it was you had to average 4 minutes per call. So after 4 minutes were up, I would just take myself off the call.
This is the problem with hiring smart people, the workarounds.
So it was the perfect crime.
Yeah.
I had the best stats.
I'll bet.
They were on point. Because I was and then I would just spend my days surfing the web, doing whatever, fantasizing about blah, 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 applying for Camp America, things like that.
Wait, but that was...
I ended up getting caught eventually because someone listened in, as in a supervisor listened in. When they listening to your calls to make you do a good job. They listened in for a half-hour period and they were like, hey, you took no calls during this half-hour period? So they suspended me with pay, ideal.
Yeah, the perfect crime.
It's a job you don't want to be in.
Yes.
So I eventually came back 2 weeks later for an interview and they were like, yeah, can you explain this? And so I had a union rep in with me. And I think what I said was, are you ready?
No, I'm not. Go. What is it?
What I said was,
If you say SARS, I'm ending the podcast.
I just found out that morning
Tez, nobody's dead. Nobody's dead.
that my girlfriend's pregnant.
Ooh, worse.
And, you know, in my culture,
Tez,
you know, you're
you're ruined.
stressful.
You're just ruined.
I didn't have to finish the rest of the sentence. I'm like, because, you know, in my culture.
Oh,
and
you
then-
asshole.
And then it's just a dot.
Crickets.
And the union person with me was like, oh my God, that is. What do you need? What do you need?
You asshole.
And I could see like the BT person opposite going, I do not buy this story at all. But I can't prove that you're lying.
100%.
So the compromise we came to, remember, I was leaving that summer to go on the summer camp anyway. So the compromise we came to was they would pay me for the next 6 weeks up until I go to the summer camp, but just don't come in anymore.
Tez.
And I was like, ah,
I don't
are
get to
you
answer
sure?
calls.
Oh,
Dang
I'm
it.
gonna miss everyone. And then
I'm so sad.
and then that was that.
Ooh, you get away with it a lot. I'm starting to really dislike you. Okay. So did they...
I
So
got sacked.
you poor baby.
With pay.
With pay for 8
With
weeks
pay.
where you didn't have to work and then you got to go to camp and break toys.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what's the last straw that when you... So maybe it wasn't as dramatic as someone's pregnant, dead, or you have SARS, but what was the last straw that got you out of customer service when you were like, okay, now comedy full time, or just a last straw where you quit a job, not where you were fired because you're getting sacked a lot?
Oh, you know, like, you don't know about my day job when I was doing comedy. I had a proper career. I was a civil servant. I was working for the Home Office, like the equivalent of the Department for Homeland Affairs.
Oh, wow.
Like I was doing.
You were corporate. You were like for real, for real.
Yeah, like one time I got stopped. The second time I went to the States, I got stopped at the airport, as my people do.
What? A Muslim got stopped at the airport? It was
Yeah, I got
probably
stopped- I got
random,
stopped at the airport,
Tez.
And then, yeah, absolutely random. And I got called to the desk. The man was like, oh, what do you do? And I very smugly said, I work for the equivalent of Department for Homeland Affairs in counterterrorism in the UK. And he went, oh.
So you put your dick on the table and you were like, and good night.
Yeah, I went,
Yeah.
there you go. And he went, oh, well, okay, go ahead.
Off you
And
go.
then I was out. Record time.
I bet.
So I was doing that. I had to organize the Olympics. Like, do you remember the 2012 London Olympics?
Fun. Yes.
Do you remember when no one got blown up?
That was because of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Wow.
That was me.
That's
I did
amazing. Okay, so you quit and you were like, fuck, this country doesn't need to be safe. It needs to laugh.
Yeah, well, I quit because I was in a job in human trafficking, anti-human, not pro. Anti-human
Not
trafficking.
pro.
Yeah. So anti-human trafficking policy. So we were like, we write the laws that the agencies then,
Implement.
implement. Yeah, that's great. That's the word. Implement. Yeah, which is a great job. I loved it. It was good.
Did
It was
you?
a part of the government that felt like we were doing something well.
'Cause you were.
like, also, like every single policy you can create has like the opposite lobby, whereas there is no pro-slavery lobby. So there's no sort of like, there's only like, are we doing enough, rather than we shouldn't be doing this.
Ooh, that's good to hear.
And it was also because it was like so obviously black and white bad. It was one thing that the Conservatives could always be like, oh, we're stopping this, so they could look human. They could be like, see, we're stopping human trafficking. Like, that's how low the bar is.
Sure.
Like, but we're stopping human trafficking. And I was like, you're fucking supposed to stop human trafficking.
Kids shouldn't be in sex slavery.
Don't pat yourselves on the back for that. But anyway, so that was a great job to be in. And then, but that was a time where like, I kind of, the Conservatives got like the equivalent of your Republican Party got voted back in. And then that kind of like, just my motivation completely left. And I was like, I need to get out and do, and comedy was doing well, but I just needed to like be earning enough money so I could leave my day job full time. And it was a lovely coincidence, but I made a short comedy for the BBC called The Go Home Office, where my character, who's a civil servant, and the civil servants in Britain have to be apolitical. They can't have a political voice. And so you work for the government of the time. So if the government changes, you stay in your job. You just do whatever policy the government wants you to do. That's the
That would
job
be
of the civil servant.
hard.
Yeah. So in this fictitious scenario, like a far right government came in, and they'd rename the Home Office the Go Home Office. And so on this particular episode, another brilliant British comedian called Nish Kumar came in to see me, and he had to justify why all South Asians were allowed to remain in the UK.
All of them? Every single one of them?
Yeah, all of. He thought he came in about himself and his family. But I was like, oh, no. Why do you lot?
The whole of you.
Yeah. And with no sense of irony about myself, because I was just doing my job.
Of course.
And so I was, in the end of this little sketch thing, I'm not happy with his answers and ended up deporting everyone.
All South Asians?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
With no sense of irony.
Sure, right.
And so that's how it ends. And then and then the Home Office found that. Like 2-3 months later, they were like, what is this? And I'm like, is it that it's not funny now?
Because I need notes. I'll take notes.
what is the issue with the piece? And they were like, no, this is bringing the department into disrepute. Like, this is a conflict of interest. This is, you're under investigation, pal. And I'm like, can I just quit? And they were like, 100% yes, please leave. And so that's how I left the Home Office. I did a 10 stretch. I did 10 years.
That's a long time.
For Her Majesty's government.
Now,
and I didn't even get a card.
Well, that's a bummer. She was busy though. Busy.
Not from the Queen, but from my team.
Oh, well.
Like a goodbye card where everyone signs. I didn't even get one of them.
But you know what though? Had they done that, had they thrown you a goodbye Tez party, then they may have all come under investigation of like, well, did you guys make videos too? So working for the government is tricky and not in a fun way. Yeah. So you get out and then you're like, but it happened to coincide with the time where your income was enough, or was that when you were like, well, I can move out of London?
Just coincidentally, I got a really good job at that point. That I was like, great, if I leave London, this is going to work out.
Because this was before.
This is the end of 2016 now.
So, and Man Like Mo Bean didn't come out until 2018, right?
2017.
You shot in 17.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out in 18. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're eventually going to get to talking about that because I love that show. Okay. Have you ever told a customer to fuck off? In your cleverly branded, they didn't know they were being told to fuck off kind of way, but you...
Yeah, not in so many words, but I guess the way that I kind of put them back in the system and fob them off to other people.
I'm glad you see that as that, because that's 100% what that is. Mm-hmm.
That was me telling them to fuck off.
Correct.
Because the first time it happened was just me being really fed up with the customer, finding I couldn't work out how to do their thing. Sure. So I just put them back in the system. And then I was like, oh shit, that worked. Oh damn. Holy shit, that works.
New business model.
And so I was like, this is what I'm doing from now on. And I did it for 3 months. 3 months I did that for.
For shame that they didn't catch you prior to then, because it means they weren't paying that much attention. So it's really their fault. Again, as with all things.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. How many bodily fluids have been on your person whilst you were on the clock?
What did you mean?
Well, mostly like this is a bartender question because I've been barfed on so many times, but you worked at a summer camp, so I would assume kids probably threw up on you, right? Or they were gifted, so maybe gifted kids don't barf. I don't know.
No, they were kind of an age where they knew how to use
the toilet,
bathrooms and all that. Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. I've never done catering or food service.
You're lucky.
So I've done a lot of jobs, but I've never done that. And I don't drink, so I've never done bar work. So that's the one job I've never done. So I've avoided that.
Can I ask, and you don't have to answer this, would it feel like a moral conflict if you were to serve alcohol?
Not if I was a waiter.
It would not.
I would be like, fine, it's part of the job. If I'm working at like Tesco, like if I'm working at the department store and people are coming to get their groceries and part of their groceries is alcohol, fine. But I'm not going to work in a bar.
That's very cool. And I didn't know that. Okay. Do you tip? And this is interesting to ask someone in the UK.
I mean, we're British, so we don't really have a tipping culture like you do in the States. But I do tip now. I don't tip everything. Like I generally don't tip cab drivers or Uber, but I tip when I'm eating, unless the service has been horrendous.
And what's like an average tip for you then if you're going to tip in a food service setting?
10% down here.
That seems right.
10%.
Okay. The next question is, were you ever fired? Gee, Tez, I don't know. You haven't answered that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Give me an example of the worst customer you've had to interact with. Or like an archetype. If you can't think of an incident, then just like a general.
When I was doing like when I was doing the phone job for BT, the British Telecom, there are just so many stupid customers. Like one guy rang in once and he was like, oh, I've been overcharged for my bill. And I was like, all right, let's have a look at it. And he's like, look, I've got a weekends plan, which means that my weekend calls are free. So why am I being charged for my weekend calls? And I'm like, fair enough, you shouldn't be. Let's have a look at this. And he's like, look here, 14th of March, why have I been charged for that call? And I was like, all right, fair enough, let's have a look at that. And then he carried on talking, he's like, yeah, and then the 22nd of March, and I was like, bro, that's a Tuesday. He's like, what? I'm like, 14th of March was a Tuesday. What? I was like, yeah, if you look on the calendar, that's a Tuesday you're complaining about. And then he gave me a few more days, and I'm like, yeah, that was a Thursday, mate. What are you looking at?
Why didn't you go to the calendar first before you called us, bro?
Unless he was looking at a different year or a different month or something. I don't know. But I was just like, what dickhead? Why are you wasting my time?
Much like William Wallace, just wasting your time. Yeah. So people that sort of wasted your time, that would be the archetype of a worst customer. Okay.
You know what's really bad now, though? I get so ironically, I get so infuriated with poor customer service.
Well, because you've worked in it,
and
though.
But I was so bad. I was really bad. So this is my comeuppance. This is my karma.
Yeah.
I get so angry.
When you
receive... like, wow, who are you angry at? I'm projecting.
Yeah, that's your real-time karma. That's pretty impressive. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to the good stuff. We hoped you saved room for dessert. What was the nicest thing that a customer, or in this case, maybe a camper, has done for you whilst you're working?
I mean, the kids were always very nice. And they'd always make me like nice cards at the end.
Aww.
And things like that, which is always very nice.
Cards are a big thing for you. Folks, if you want to be friends with Tez, he really likes cards. Send him a card.
Message. So the kids were always really nice and stuff. And they'd cover for me. At the time that kid covered for me, that was really nice.
You mean saved your job by lying?
Yeah, I would let the kids have a lot of fun, and I would let them get away with a lot. So then they reciprocally they covered for me, because they're not going to get thrown off the camp.
No, they paid.
A kid's not going to get thrown off the camp for eating another kid's gingerbread head. But I might get into trouble for that. Yeah, I might get into trouble for that.
Sure.
But, I instilled the street smarts in them, and it paid off for me. They were like my what have you seen Game of Thrones?
Ish, like a couple episodes. I know it makes me a bad person. I know.
Oh, you won't know that. But they were like my, my street kids. They were like my urchins. My
sure.
My little sparrows.
Sure.
Just,
Your crows dropping messages.
Just looking out for me.
How lovely. You created a gang. That's great. You learned a lot from that camp.
Oliver Twist. That was once, I was, the nicest thing I ever did for someone.
Wasn't going to ask this.
When I was working at the university shop, we had a DVD rental section. And, some friends just never returned their DVDs, and I would wipe their fines, because they couldn't graduate if they owed money to the school. So I would wipe their fines. Some kids had hundreds of pounds of fines, and I would wipe them clean.
You are a hero, Tez. It just
fucking Robin Hood over here.
Yeah, get your cape, because you're bucking the system and saving your buddies. You're a good you're an inside man, but I bet don't ever cross you though. I bet you're also clever enough to ruin people. Not that you would, but you're probably able to.
No, I wouldn't. No, generally, if people, I'd stiff companies, but not people.
I could see that. You are Robin Hood. Truly, that is Robin Hood's whole model.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't stiff people, but I'd stiff companies for sure.
What's an example of the best customer that you could think of? Like a customer you interacted with maybe that was really grateful, or was, I know you said the kids gave you cards. That would be the nicest thing they've done. But something, or an example of an archetype of a good customer interaction, if you could carve one from stone and say, this is perfect top to bottom.
When a customer rings up or comes into a shop and they know what they want, they are clear. I want these pair of shoes in a size 8. Would you mind if I tried them on? Of course not. And then the shoes are there in stock. So, everyone's doing their job.
Sure.
The customer's doing their job, I'm doing their job, the store's doing their job. I come out, they try the trainers on. I want these trainers. Great. Would you like some accessories with it, like polish or whatever? No, I'm okay, thank you. Not a problem. Let me put this behind the till. You carry on shopping. Great. And then they tell the manager on the way out, that guy working on that shoe department, good lad. And you're like, thank you. That's in and out. No one's getting too familiar. No one's being overly nice. Everyone's just doing their job.
Do you look at people side-eyed that are too nice?
When people get too familiar, I had a waiter the other day. I had a family dinner. We were eating out. And this waiter was getting too familiar. and like overly making jokes. And one, it's upsetting because I haven't been on stage for a year. That's upsetting.
How dare he have a platform?
Don't make jokes, mate. This is triggering right now. Okay,
you snowflake.
You've got a platform. You got a platform to do this, and I don't. Get the fuck out of here.
Very New York of you.
Just get a bit too familiar. Like he was like if there's no conversation happening and you're a waiter and you spot that and you're like, oh, let me sprinkle a bit of my magic charisma into this situation. Fine. But if people are enjoying themselves and having a conversation, why are you interrupting with your chat?
Now, was he interrupting to do bits or was he interrupting to see if you wanted more water?
Bits.
Oh yeah, then that's annoying. Gross.
Like he'd be like, oh, what's your name? Oh, I'll give you a free whatever if you tell your brother here that he needs a haircut. The brother was bald. If your brother needs a haircut, and I'm like, what are you?
Well, they're hacky bits. These aren't even good bits.
Yeah,
that's hacky.
Hacky bits.
Yeah.
So I'm like, plus it was the bald guy's birthday.
Aww.
Like, he doesn't need that.
No, don't shame him for his situation. That's. Well, did your brother roll with it?
My cousins.
What was your cousins?
No, he didn't roll with it.
He wasn't having it. Okay. Well, this is
good. I was like, it's unnecessary. Why are you getting too familiar? Like, we're not your mates.
Okay, so you like the balance of like just ease in, ease out. Okay, so that would be the best customer.
Professional and polite. If you're charming, it's a bonus.
Okay. What is the best lesson that you have personally learned from the various customer service jobs that you've had?
The customer is not always right.
Come on.
Because sometimes the customer, A, might be a piece of shit, or B, might be a fucking idiot, or C, just might not be very nice. And it's not my fucking store. What do I care? If that guy's never going to shop at JJB Sports again, fucking I don't care. What do I care? We've got the worst selection of trainers anyway.
Are you a sneakerhead?
A little bit. Yeah. I was more so than I was then.
Well, you have to have money to be a sneakerhead, really, if we're all being honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think like once you get on, I think once you earn a set of, I think every time you climb up the money ladder,
mm-hmm.
like a whole area of Instagram automatically opens up to you that you weren't aware of. Like on your discovery page, suddenly you're like, oh, kitchens. Huh. Wow, kitchens are nice. Look at this kitchen. I wasn't seeing those posts when I was poor.
They were just showing me discount coupons to fast food. Right. Now I'm seeing.
I was like, what patios? Damn.
I'm going to remodel a house. I can own a house.
Wow.
Okay. What's one piece of advice that you would give to customers who interact with customer service workers?
You are always right.
Tez.
Do not take shit from these people.
This is conflict.
These people are fucking beneath you.
All right.
Why would they be in this job if they had their shit together? You fucking let them know this.
Your brand is conflicted. Okay, great. No, that's really good. And that marries what you've said earlier. Good. Mm. Well, how can people get in touch with you, Tez? How can they buy The Secret Diary of a British Muslim aged 13 3/4? And also, when is Man Like Mobeen coming back? Because one of the best lines I've heard on television, and it was describing your character, I believe it was your sister, says that you are manufactured by Asians and extremely thick. And I just thought that was like the funniest, thick meaning like for American audience, dim-witted, dumb, because his character in the show is incredibly dumb and it's very funny. When are you guys coming back? Like when do people get to see it?
Okay, so to answer each question at a time.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot. I should have gone slower.
For all complaints on what you've heard this episode,
yes,
please do contact my social media manager, Kate.
Yeah, right. I knew it was coming. I will block you. I will block you.
Absolute delight.
Don't lie now.
If you want to see more from me, go to Tez Ilyas, my name, tezilyas.com/hello. And that is my link tree. And that has links to my book, to my merch, to my tour, to my podcast stand-up series with BBC Radio 4, to Man Like Mobeen, to my Channel 4 pilot, to the Tez O'Clock Show, to everything I've ever done, to my Cameo and all my social media links. So they're all on there. tezilyas.com/hello.
TEZ.
In that tone.
You have to say it that way. You have to say it out loud when you type it. TEZILYAS.com/hello. Okay. Hello. So your book, I've seen it on Amazon. Is it for our international listeners? Does Amazon
it's coming out? I think you can get it from Kindle now.
And
the audiobook And the audiobook, I think you can just get now. But the hardback, I think, is coming out in North America over the summer. Yeah, I think you can order it now. People
you
have
can.
done, but obviously,
You can.
yeah, just obviously you have to wait for Amazon Europe to deliver it to you, and it can take a bit of time, and maybe it's more expensive. I don't know, but Amazon US will have it, and other bookshops, etc., will have it in the summer.
Amazing.
At some point.
And when is Man Like Mobeen coming back? Because I've seen guys on interviews where he's like, yeah, we're doing, and I saw like that. It looks like there's another series, but I think COVID probably interrupted.
Yeah. Have you seen? Are you up to date?
No, don't ruin it. No.
Okay, so I won't ruin it then.
Please don't.
There is a season 4 planned.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay. Or don't tell me anything else. So we will see you eventually in that same thick-brained character.
Yeah, the really smart one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Incredibly intelligent. Is your
But everything is wicked. Wicked.
I heard what you said.
That's my catchphrase.
I know.
That's my catchphrase.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Which is wicked. In case ever you have to catch his. Not you sound totally different on the show too. Like, do you change your?
You know what? When bro, yeah, I do. Because sometimes when I'm in the character, I speak like this, innit? So you know how Latin Americans have their own, like Hispanics have their own accent and kind of their own language. I can't do the accent, but like that ASA, all that sort of stuff. Like they have their own vernacular thing. British Asians, South Asians, we have our own pattern of speech and language, and how we speak in that show is very close to what that is. Particularly my character.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little hard to understand sometimes for us. Yeah.
Bro, what are you doing, bro? That's kind of the British South Asian equivalent of like your Hispanics.
Okay, because you roll your R's, and that's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah. Okay. And is the girl who plays your sister, I should have written down her name. I don't have it in front of me.
She plays Guz's sister.
Guz's sister. That's right. Okay.
Because I'm like the best friend, right? I'm like there's a sweet friend and the dumb friend.
And how did you know him ahead of time? Like, or did you audition for this?
I did audition, but we met before that. And I remember at the end of our audition, after I left the room, they turned to me and were like, so how long did you spend rehearsing that? And they were like, and Guz was like, no, we literally improvised that.
And were they happy that you guys were so good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were just like, I think they were minded to cast someone with a bit more profile than me at the time. In my role.
Got it.
And so I think when they saw our chemistry, they were a bit like, what have you been doing? What is this? It's like with me watching Rick and Morty. Why did that just happen?
All things come back to that.
Completely unnecessary, that. When they saw our chemistry, they were like, we can't really deny that.
You guys seem like, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, folks, we're going to drop your checks now. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to help us out here at Service from Hell, we'd love to have you subscribe, rate, and or review the show wherever you listen. It will help us reach more people that need to be schooled on the art of being kind and will be catharsis for those of us still working in the industry. If you want to get in touch with us here at Service from Hell directly, send us your receipts at servicefromhellpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, if you can't afford to tip, you can't afford to go out. So don't be garbage and be good to people. It's easier that way. Thank you, Tez, so much for being here. This was lovely. You were not at all surprisingly very lovely, although you have taught me that syndicate or organized crime is probably the way to go. But other than teaching our listeners how to be terrible, you were great. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome, America.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Good night. That was fantastic. You were super fun.
Thank you. You were a really good interview, by the way.
Oh, that's very kind to say. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
You're welcome.
I like listening.
It's good.
Yeah, and you're
very good at it.
Oh, you're very funny. I cannot believe that you let a fucking first aid tent burn down. I cannot believe.
So bad.
It is bad.
So bad. I think there's nothing you can do. Because usually I'm quite good at talking my way out of things, but there's nothing you can do with that. There's like that happened on my watch.
It's just
the thing is, it wasn't. I did do a round like at the beginning of the shift. I went round the park and it wasn't burned down.
Well, of course not.
It happened on my. But I couldn't be like, oh, it was already there. When I
get you.
It was definitely happened on my watch while I was reading Lord of the Rings.